wondered what it is that destroys businesses? Is it customers? Is it products? Is it the marketplace? Or is it the sin of greed, and business owners and CEOs who are greedy, do they destroy businesses? And that's exactly what we're going to go and talk about today. My name's Rob Yates, and along with Mr. Mark Hopkins, who's somewhere on the screen with me now. You there, Hoppy? Hey!
I am shivering.
He's shivering. We are the founders of We Get Outdoors, and We Get Outdoors is the only coaching and consulting business that serves the outdoor industry solely globally at this point in time. It's our mission on a weekly basis to come to you amazing people and share with you latest news, latest views, ideas, opinions, strategies, and tips on how you can take your business forwards to be the business that you set it up to be, to give you the lifestyle you want, the cash you want, etc., etc. Mr. Hopkins, how's your week going other than shivering?
I think I've probably lost 5 kilos in shivering, and probably another 5 kilos still recovering from my sleeping on a ledge at 3,000 meters.
There we go. And we're pretty glad you're not there now, because that climb with the amount of ice and snow that would be there now would be pretty spectacular.
Pretty treacherous, I'd have thought.
So tell me, as a starting point, Mark, what's been your experience of the consequences of greed within the business setting?
Not very good. The outcomes really don't work very well, to be honest. And they don't work very well because greed, by definition, is really about taking now and not thinking about tomorrow, and making really short-sighted decisions that may chase a short-term profit. But I've seen so many businesses where they think they're making the right call to get as much money in as possible. And then when that bubble bursts, they suddenly realize their cash flow is zero and they are in proper panic station. So yeah, I haven't come across one business where chasing really short-term goals has actually paid off.
Yeah. You know, there's an attitude out there in business that people think comes from some of the business schools. And I don't think it does. I think it comes from very, very big business where there's a board and shareholders and all that sort of stuff, which is pretty much around spend as little and do as little as possible to take as much money out of the business as fast as possible. And in all the businesses that we've built, Mark, between you and I as our businesses and the businesses we've worked in, we've seen a degree of that. And it would be fair to say that in a year to 18-month window, people really can make some quick money out of just raping and pillaging businesses and customers and promising the world and not giving them 50% and so on and so forth. But it's also very obvious to see that those businesses just aren't around in a few years' time, or they're struggling, or so on and so forth. And I wonder whether people are greedy, business owners are greedy, or whether they're just misinformed and misguided with regards to what their number one mission is in business and where they're doing and what they're going.
I think probably it's a bit of both. I think there's the ego that suddenly sees an opportunity to make a shitload of money really, really quickly, and they see their bank balance going up quite quickly. But probably because they're focused on revenue and not profit. So they see their bank balance going up, but what they haven't worked out is in quite a short space of time, they're going to get a bloody big invoice, which is going to wipe out most of that money anyway, because they really just chase revenue. And then the second thing that I see quite a lot is that initial excitement and that initial run starts teetering off, that it starts plateauing. And what happens is business owners see the plateau, and instead of, as it starts slowing down, instead of going, oh crap, we might have made a bad mistake here, they try and pump even more money to a dart flogging horse to see if they can actually kickstart it. And all they do is any profit that they've made, they put into a sinking ship. And then after 18, 24 months, they're not only back to square one, they're back to square one minus 3 to 5 years and a lot of cash.
Yeah. And it's almost as though those people give you that feeling of, you know, Mark, when you go to the wedding and then there's that buffet there, and there's always that one person who has 3 plates and mounds them up to the ceiling and usually takes, in my opinion, the chocolate eclairs and all the best, tastiest stuff and then walks away. And nobody at the wedding is polite enough to challenge them about it. But equally, nobody wants to hang out with them. Nobody wants to sit near them. Nobody's really got a good feeling or sensation about that person. Maybe they don't get invited to that many weddings in future. I don't know. But greed brings out the worst in the people about you if you are greedy. And in terms of business, that's your employees and that's your customers. And, you know, a business is all about people. Well, if you're bringing out the worst in your customers and the worst in your employees because you're greedy, pretty much you just don't have a business going forwards. I wonder, Mark, do you have any like practical examples of people who've been maybe greedy by accident or kind of don't quite know like what it is that they are doing, which actually comes across as greedy?
Yeah, I think also I do. And I think it's interesting how people automatically assume greed with money. And I think we've also got to recognize in business that greed is also, it can come across as protectionism. So there was a business that I consulted in who had a leader who had a reasonably good track record, but had surrounded himself with I don't know what's a polite way, basically nodding dogs, and had these nodding dogs. When the going was good, it was good to be a nodding dog because you never had to disagree with the boss. The boss was carrying on driving, and the nodding dog said, "Yes sir, no sir, you're brilliant, sir." The problem happened when the economy started to change and competitors started to do different things. Now, that greed for safety, that greed for growth, he then reached out to his team and said, crap, I need some help. And not one person could do anything to help him. He was literally on his own. And then guess what happened? The boat sank and the nodding dogs all lost their jobs. He tried for probably 18 months to change the deck chairs around. He moved one nodding dog from one role to another, hoping that would happen. And the same thing happened. He was just left stranded. So I think, for me, it's a really good example around greed being different forms. It's not just financial, but it's also greed about being protecting what you think is the right way to go. And people who you believe are your friends or a part of a different kind of club.
That's it. So you could even throw, to a degree, and I struggle with this one, but equally I've seen it happen, being greedy with having too much time for yourself. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean the business owner who wants to rock up at 10 and leave by 1 and barely keeps on top of their own workload, has no time for their workforce, and then lets their workforce just pretty much do as they please for 6 days a week, and then wonders why the business is going in the wrong direction and the money's not coming in and they're getting complaints and so on and so forth. It's because they've been greedy with their time and not actually given time to the people who are actually going to need to do their bidding for them when they are off fly fishing or climbing or whatever it may well be. So I think you can take very many parts. I've actually experienced it where you've got business owners who are paying themselves astronomically large amounts of money and are paying their workforce an absolute pittance and yet demanding the world from them, as in they're demanding, a $20,000 a month worth of performance, but only want to pay $3,000 a month. And, people will take that for a little while, but then quite quickly they just are like, well, actually, I can get more down the road. I'll just go somewhere else. And so for me, greed is the thing that just puts people off. And I think, Mark, our number one priority in all of our businesses that we work in and our own businesses is how do we actually bring people into the family as opposed to pushing them away? Because that's what creates a sustainable business.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think, and I've seen it in businesses where you've got like any business owner who thinks that employees don't talk is the biggest ostrich I've ever met. And also, every employee knows who's good and who's not good. It's pretty obvious, the people who are performing and the people who are not performing. I've seen this where a business owner has their favorite, and their favorite is, oh my gosh, this person was so useless. This person was so useless, he even screwed up how to make tea. Literally, he was that useless, this human being. And yet, every single time you saw him, he'd either have a pay rise or he'd been given a gift by the business owner. And after a while, all the employees were just going, it is pointless being here because it makes no difference what I do. I'm never going to succeed or never going to get recognized or never going to go anywhere if the business owner is purely rewarding his favorite. So I just think as a business owners, it's a blooming tough job, hey? It's a bit like raising a kid. You've got to have your eyes and ears absolutely everywhere. But there's things that are in your control. The things that are in your control is be the kind of person, it's the top tip I give to all business owners, be the person that you want to work for. Now, if you just every morning turning up to work and going, would I work for myself? And be really, really honest with that. And don't say, yeah, of course I would, because I only work 2 days a week or 2 hours a day. Now, that's not being honest with yourself. That's just being deluded and stupid, and your business is screwed anyway, so good luck to you. You shouldn't be listening to this because you're probably past death anyway. But really start thinking about would you work for somebody? Would you work for yourself? And why would you work for me? Like, why would you, if we asked ourselves, why would somebody want to work for Rob and Mark? I think we'd be able to answer it pretty much. Like, first and foremost, it's a family. We take care of each other. We have each other's backs. We're very, very honest with each other. We reward each other for work that we say we're going to do and we've done to the right kind of level. We keep tabs on what we're doing to make sure that we're aligned. We give each other the right leave. You and I, we're not tight on, if you need to go and do something, you just say we're going to do something, and I trust that you're going to have everything in line before you do it and afterwards. And that's sort of what we do.
It's interesting, the opposite of greed is generosity. And one of the things that I'm finding in a lot of businesses at the moment is there's a lot of consultants out there and coaches who try and make everything fit into an Excel spreadsheet. So they basically try and do business by numbers, which there is a place for. But we have to bear in mind that the people we sell to are not numbers. They're squishy, emotional, weird human beings who buy for a whole concoction of weird reasons. And sometimes being overly generous can be the thing that actually makes your business grow. Now, the example I've got of this is in one of my previous businesses. At the end of every trip, we used to send a leather-bound, hard-backed book of all of beautiful images from the trip the adventure holiday people had been on to every guest, or every client rather, guest, client, same different, who'd been on the trip. And we used to send it to them, and it cost about $100-ish plus minus to get it printed and bound, and probably about another $300 per trip. So that's each client. It cost us $100, and probably another $300 worth of somebody's time to go and actually, do the graphic design stuff and put the artwork for the book together. However, and so if you were to look at that trip in isolation, you'd say that that's overly generous. You're spending too much money on your customers, and it's money you could put back into your back pocket if you were just looking at it in the short term in an Excel spreadsheet. However, if you looked at it over a 2 to 3 year window, you'd suddenly find that that book was the conversation starter over whiskey after a dinner or at somebody's desk in somebody's office that actually got us multiples of new customers coming through without us spending any more than that because, I had coffee with George the other day and he told me about his trip to Bhutan with you. Wow, are you going again? I'd love to come. And so if you look at it in isolation and try and make sense of it in Excel, some of that generosity will seem overly excessive. And yet you'd be greedy to take it away because if you weren't that generous, you'd just screw up your business and you'd just end up spending money on something else somewhere else, trying to go and pour money into Mark Zuckerberg's pocket in Facebook to do Facebook ads or something. And so I don't think we can see things in isolation. We have to have more of a 3-5 year view over what's this generous thing we're doing now and how does it really play out in the long term? Because greedy people don't give anything away for free.
Yeah, and I think what you've alluded to there is people are going to probably listen going, I've got to go spend money. Well, another way to look at it is how much do you currently spend to acquire a customer? Through your Facebook ads, through your marketing, through everything. And going, how can I spend that money, the same amount of money, in a different way that gets my customers to become my marketing tool? So yes, you're not going to go and give your clients just $100 bill because it actually does nothing for them. They'll spend it on something that they'll never, ever remember what they spent it for. So give them something that is 100% aligned to your business. It's 100% aligned to the emotions that your business generates inside of somebody. And something, I tell you this really interesting story when I was working in Vietnam. Vietnam, at that time I was working in the insurance industry. And I was consulting out there. And I was doing a tour in north part of Vietnam. And I did an opening of an office. I did a speech in front of how many people? About 1,200 people that was. And then afterwards, as a guest of honor, you get taken to the best agent in the area to go visit their family before you go to lunch. As we pulled up, literally the wheels hadn't stopped before my door was opened and there's this man dragging me out of the car. Now, I was sort of taken aback a little bit. And this man literally, I'm 6'4", he was probably 5 foot. But he was so excited that he was so bloody strong. He was literally dragging me. I was falling over my feet into his house. And he dragged me into his house, into the lounge, and he pointed on the mantelpiece. And on the mantelpiece was this trophy. And he said, through my translator, "This is the trophy that my wife received from your company for being the best agent." He was so proud. So imagine what he's saying to all his friends and family about the company. I think that's the way to think about generosity. Think about generosity in terms of what do you want people to talk about you. And I think your level one's a really good example. So greed is having the flashy watches. It's basically pissing people off. That's what it does. So turn greed into something that actually benefits your business if you care about your business. And maybe you don't care about your business. Maybe you're just thinking, I'm going to rape and pillage everything I can for the next 2 years, get as much money out of it, and then basically live the life of Riley for 5 years. And then in 5 years, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to go, shit, I've got no money. What do I do next? Good luck to you. That's definitely a tactic that you may take. Probably not a tactic that we would take to build a legacy business, but it is a tactic.
Cool. So are you being greedy in your business? Well, maybe that's a conversation you need to go and have with yourself and ask yourself and do a bit of thinking about what greed really is. Greed in terms of time, in terms of effort, in terms of productivity, in terms of money. There's many different layers to it. And if you're being greedy in your business, you're pretty much guaranteeing that it won't have a sustainable long-term future that maybe your kids can benefit from or the community at large can benefit from way beyond when you're gone. We hope that this conversation has been a little bit thought-provoking. We hope it's been useful. And we hope that it's been challenging as well. Our job out there is to ask questions and have conversations that nobody else in the outdoor industry is willing to have. So we hope that's useful to you. Please like, please subscribe, and you will see a series of links beneath here for some business owner training that's for free, to jump on a call with Mark and I and help us solve some problems in your business, so on and so forth. So we'd encourage you to go and take action on those things if you want to grow your business, have a better quality of life, or any of the above. Maybe spend more time with your kids. I don't know, whatever it is for you. But that's it from us. We look forward to seeing you next week. And Mark, any parting comment from you as we sign off?
Be honest with yourself. Don't be a bullshitter, because if you are not honest with yourself, your customers are going to smell the bullshit and they're going to run away to your competition.
Awesome. There we are. Word of wisdom to finish on. We'll see you next week. Stay awesome.